Spoilers!
So Avengers Endgame is what we saw. The follow-up to Avengers Infinity War.
It's about a giant purple man with a scrotal chin who got some stones, snapped the universe. Then the Avengers are like, no, don't do that, and they're trying to reverse that, so...
Infinity War was all about Thanos. It was Thanos' story. Endgame isn't. Endgame is more like kind of Iron Man's story, but it's kind of also this culmination of all the characters that from all the movies that have come to this point. And it has a lot of things in the plot that would have bothered me a lot if it wasn't for all the character arcs that were going on that banked so much on all the previous movies. Like,
yeah, likable characters.
Yeah. The characters were fun. I liked that it wasn't just a typical, superhero movie plot. I didn't know where it was going, which was a nice feeling.
Within the first 20 minutes, they kill Thanos.
Yeah.
And that's really interesting because then it's like, well, where are you going to go next?
And then 5 years pass.
Yeah, 5 years pass. This is a completely different film than Infinity War, because Infinity War is this Frankenstein of a monster of a film that really does, it shouldn't have worked, but it did. You have all these different arcs going on, you have all these different stories, and they're intertwined and interwoven and such, and different acts are going on at different times. It's really interesting, and everything is melding together. And this one, Endgame, is more of a simple 3-act structure, and you can really tell when the 3-act structure hits, because in the very first part, it's about all of them dealing with the aftermath of the snap. You get to live in this world, and you get to see what the characters are dealing with. You get to have these quiet moments, like Tony Stark is with his wife now and has a kid, and everyone is just kind of Ant-Man's like, oh man, what the hell has happened? And just you get to be with these characters. Second act is them retrieving the stones. Third act is defeating second Thanos.
Right. It's a really great looking movie. You've got Tony Stark in the spaceship talking to his mask to record a message. The color speaks so much to the tone of what he's doing and the isolation and the loneliness and the hopelessness. There were so many scenes that struck me like this is how you would frame it in a comic book. This is how you would write this sequence in a comic book. Particularly a lot of the action scenes, but even him talking to the mask at the beginning. It's like, okay, I could see this playing out in panels in a comic book. And a lot of other Marvel movies strike me more as they don't try to do as much when it comes to the coloration.
They get the job done.
Yeah, I haven't always been blown away. Right, but these two I think kind of stand out visually to me. I freaking hate alternate universes.
Yes, I hate alternate universes as well. Thank you. Yes, I hate them very, very, very much.
I hate them because it trivializes all of our main characters and everything they're struggling for. Because they are one of infinite copies of themselves. Therefore, whatever they're going through isn't unique and it's not special. Why does it matter that we're saving this universe? Because there's infinite other universes.
I picked up on that in this film too. My problem with other timelines and time travel and all that is that they usually always get their rules mixed up. And they did that a lot in this.
To their credit, they did give it enough tongue-in-cheek, poking, yeah, they're referencing all the other time travel movies, oh, time travel doesn't work like that. I liked how they did that.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of funny because it was them talking to the audience, what about Back to the Future? What about that movie? What about this movie? The film recognizes that the only thing that we know about time travel is from all these other movies that we've seen before, which is fine, but it wouldn't have been such a headache for me if they didn't make you think about it so much. Because specifically at the very end, this whole thing's spoilers, so whatever. But at the very end, you have Steve Rogers, he goes back in time with all 6 Infinity Stones in a briefcase. Because of the rules that they set up, how was he able to go to all these different timelines and then live his life in the timeline that he was living in, and then go all the way to the present moment?
Right.
And then... What?
he would get lost somewhere, or he'd be in some other timeline or something, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's it just, I don't know, that was really jarring for me. And that's what I don't like about movies whenever time travel gets introduced to them, is that they make up their own rules, which is fine, but they hardly ever follow them, or they hardly ever fix it.
I hear you, but it depends on what's important to the story. So look at Back to the Future. Does it follow the rules of time travel perfectly? Probably not. But I don't think it matters in that movie because it's
Yeah.
serving the purposes of the story. It's telling a compelling character story. You're using time travel to explore characters, and I think
Right.
that's great.
No, I agree with you on that. Like, if it's emphasizing on those parts, then yeah, of course, go for it. But at the same time, if the film is begging me to like be like, oh no, you have to buy into our rules to understand this.
It did go to a lot of trouble to kind of explain the details of it.
Yeah, because like, hey, you know all those other rules that you know about time travel in other movies? Yeah, forget all that. Like, learn this. The main job of this film was to just give a send-off to the characters that we've been with for 10 years.
Yeah.
And it did that job well. So all of these are just kind of like minor nitpicks. Like, there's nothing really bad about the film at all. But if we are going to talk about that, the one thing that really just sucked me out of it was second Thanos just made it really feel inconsequential
Yeah.
to the entire story, because even though Infinity War is all about Thanos and this one is kind of like not necessarily about him, I would have just not had a second Thanos be put in there, because the Thanos in this one is a alternate universe Thanos, and you lose that weight. That emotional weight, because like you build up this character for 10 years, and when you have a villain that doesn't know what's going on around him, doesn't know who he's talking to. There's even, the script even calls him out on it. Yeah. When Scarlet Witch goes up to him and says, like, you killed Vision, or something like that. And then he says, I don't even know you. Like, oh.
And they tried to play it off like a joke or something, but yeah, that spoke to an actual weakness in the script, I think. I totally agree, would not have done the second Thanos who doesn't know what the heck's going on. Like, no, you got to come up with something else.
Yeah, because you've been building up this character for 10 years, and then just to have him come in and be like, oh, yeah, I don't know anyone in here, but I'm just going to start killing it. You lose so much emotional impact on what's going on. Nebula and War Machine get the Infinity Stone, and then they're about to, like, transport back to, like, modern time or whatever. And then, Thanos, like, messes with her head or whatever. Like, the second Thanos, like, starts messing with her head. And then all of a sudden she's like, he knows. But in my head, I'm thinking, but why does that matter? This is not the same Thanos that you've been fighting. You could just pop out of that reality, leave. Yeah. Like that, it's not consequential to your timeline at all. So I understand exactly what you're saying.
After they fought Thanos or whatever, there's a scene at the end where, like we said, Rogers comes back and he's really old, and he's passing off the shield to his friend. And there were several scenes like that are kind of cheesy, kind of like, okay, I see what you're doing. But because of the whole point of the movie, like I sort of accepted it. Like, yeah,
because it's exactly what it's doing. It's sending off everyone, and not to mention that they had perfect arcs for every character. Because with Iron Man, spoilers, he dies, but he had a perfect arc because what he did is he sacrificed himself. And, throughout the 10 years, he's always been selfish.
Right.
And then it's the complete opposite for Steve Rogers. He's always been selfless.
Yeah.
And then he goes back, and then he's like, I want to be selfish. I want to be with my one wife. So, yeah, they had great arcs, and they had a good send-off for all of the characters. What did you think about when they go back in time and then they revisit all of their old movies?
Iffy. I thought...
Was it too fan servicey?
A little. What I did like was the elevator scene with Captain America.
Yeah, Hail Hydra.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was smart. That was smart.
That was good.
Yeah, that's the thing that I liked about it, was that it was kind of on the edge for me, but I liked it because they did new things with it where it wasn't necessarily fan service, where it was like, oh, Hail Hydra, oh, you didn't know that before, and then Ant-Man gets small and then goes into Tony Stark's
suit to
to like blow the fuse in his arc reactor or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, so they introduced new things to it. So I usually don't like things like that because we've already been here before. We know what this is, but since this is a film that's kind of wrapping up these 10 years, I felt like that it was kind of the film saying like, oh, hey, remember these times?
Yeah. It's weird because I feel like the only reason this film gets away with these things is that
it's been building up to it.
Yeah, and there's really no other film you can compare it to. There's no other film that has had however many movies the Marvel movies have been like...
With a cinematic universe, because all the other cinematic universes have failed horribly.
Right. Like the longest series like of a continuous story, you get like 3 or 4 movies maybe. Most series will like change it up, or they'll like have different characters, different stories and stuff. But this is like all these movies are really connecting, leading to this point. So I kind of, if it was any other movie, I would give it a lot more flack for a lot of these things.
So at the end of Infinity War, you see Nick Fury, and he's deteriorating, and then he's calling this superhero called Captain Marvel. And everyone's speculating on the internet, like, oh, Captain Marvel's gonna be the thing that saves the day. It's this big thing that's gonna save everything. And Captain Marvel shows up in the first part of the film for like the first 20 minutes, and then leaves, and then shows up again for the other 20 minutes at the end, and then that's it. Just kind of she's used as a Deus Ex Machina in this film.
But she doesn't really affect the story that much. She like shows up to save Tony. They could have figured out some other way to save him, right? But whatever.
Yeah.
So she saves him.
They just needed to shoehorn her in.
Yeah, and then at the end, she punches Thanos, but then he blasts her away with the stone, and that's kind of. He destroys the big ship.
Yeah,
right?
she destroys the big ship too. Yeah, but that's it. Like nothing else really happens with her. She doesn't really do anything else.
I felt like they didn't know what to do with her, which is weird.
Yeah, it felt like that. Yeah, because the writers were just like, oh, let's have her come in the beginning. But I feel like that they kind of wrote themselves into a hole because they kept on saying like, oh, she's the most powerful one of them.
She's too powerful. We don't know what to do with her.
Yeah, she's too powerful. But that's funny because Thor's a god.
Yeah.
And she just got her powers by standing too close to an engine that blowed up.
It was a really powerful engine.
Oh, apparently.
Very powerful explosion.
Oh, more powerful than Thor. Now is she even better god?
Maybe it's because we didn't have any time to really get to know her. Like, she had one movie and then this. Like,
well, in the movie too, they didn't really do anything with her. Her own movie, it was just bad. And then I thought that they were gonna explore more of her in this one, but they don't really do anything with her in this one either.
I didn't really like how they hand waved away the reason she wasn't there to fight Thanos. They're like, "Where the heck were you?" And she's like, "Hey, there's lots of other planets that need saving. They don't all have Avengers." It's like, there's a Thanos on every planet?
Yeah.
What? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. 50% of the entire population is dead, but you gotta go look at other things?
Seriously.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You're trying to imply there's something worse than Thanos, more pressing than Thanos. Elsewhere, I mean...
I hate how there's like these 6 Infinity Stones, and they're these magical entities that no one really understands, no one gets, and, it's just like they cause this infinite destruction, and they're just this magical thing. And then Tony Stark goes home and figures out time travel by just asking 2 questions to his automated robot, and then he's like, "Oh my God, I solved time travel!"
I think it was trying to imply that he'd been working on it for a while. So, under that premise, he would have had some system or some formula worked out that he hadn't been able to figure out, and this was the thing that pushed him over the edge to like get the final tweak on it. Maybe, I guess.
I would actually like that more.
It should have demonstrated that more clearly, because it did. I got the same feeling where it's like, oh, that's it.
Yeah.
The one thing, and that's how you do time travel.
This film succeeds at doing what it was supposed to succeed at, which was wrapping up 10 years of pretty decent films and tying it all together and doing it for the fans. And, I felt emotions. Like, I got a little teary-eyed when, you say bye to Tony Stark and all that. And, I really can't complain about it. Overall, the film itself is, there's some flaws in it, but it's not horrible. It was a good send-off. I would still say I like Infinity War more, but I applaud Marvel. I would say go see Endgame.
Yeah.
It's an enjoyable film.
Unless you haven't seen any Marvel movies, in which case, why are you watching this?
Yep, don't bother. But, that's that. So, go see Endgame.